Welcome everyone to Three Guys, One Music. This is Jamie. I'm here with Mike and Grant.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Oh, outstanding.
In a field, a game, in a field of just glamour and fabulousness.
Indeed.
Ooh, that was very descriptive.
Really didn't know where I was
Man,
going.
it's been a minute since we've seen each other. How you guys doing?
Yeah, good. How are you liking it up there? Up in New England?
I love New England. I've always loved New England since I've spent time here. I think I started coming up here 30 years ago for the first time, and I've always loved New England. Something really beautiful about this part of the country, and
You've taken
it's just
off
got a
the
charm to it.
Great White North.
Well, yeah, I'm not far away. Not far away. But yeah, it's cool. It's been snowy and cold and
It's been warm
lushy.
here. Hooray.
Has it?
Yeah. See,
Yeah,
we're getting
yeah.
a warm snap instead of a cold snap.
Yeah. Well, it's still the winter's still we're still in the middle of it. Anything's possible.
It'll come
I think
back.
we still have I think we still are gonna get quite a bit more snow. It's there's something up here called mud season, which we're months away from that, but it's like whenever you get a lot of snow
And then
over a
everything
season,
falls out.
it just turns. Yeah, even today when I was driving around, I was picking up a guitar that I had worked on, and I was about 45 minutes away from where I was, and it looked like a little mountain community. I'm not really that familiar with the name of it, but um, it was mud everywhere. I mean, just on your windshields, both your front and back. It's just like impossible. It's just dirty slush.
Yeah.
Not nice. Well, we're going to be talking about our favorite instrumentals today, and Mike had suggested this, and it should be fun. And we'll talk about what we've been listening to, as usual. You guys want to go first? Anybody want to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
Right.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've been together, so I've been listening to everything, but I've discovered two new. One is a band and one is a guy. The band Feel. That's their name. The band Feel. And but that's the whole name. The band Feel, not the band.
Oh, okay.
Feel.
Not
I see.
PHIL.
Feel.
Not
Yeah,
the name Phil or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
FEEL. Feel, like I feel
got you.
good.
I got
And
you.
they're a throwback kind of band, classic rock with some modern twists in there.
Sounds like my jam.
Real instruments, real singing, really good songs. Very traditional. When you think of a rock band, they sound like a rock band, and I'm like, yay, real
Right.
instruments, And the other guy is a guy named JD. I don't know if it's pronounced Simo or Simo.
Simo. Yeah, he's a Nashville guy.
Yeah.
I think he's originally from Illinois, but he's been in the Nashville scene for a number of years. He's a really, really good guitar player.
I just discovered him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I
He's been
was
around for a long time.
pretty blown away by a lot of his playing. And
Oh, yeah, he's really good. He's a tone guy. I mean, he's obviously a very good player, but he's really into tone. And that's the guys that I really identify with that,
mhm.
In Nashville, being one of the top tier players, you've got access to everything. I mean, in Nashville, you've got Carter's, I think, Groon's, George Groon's shop, and I can't think of the name of it.
If you didn't know him, you would like him, and if you knew him, you would like him.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's really used to be being in Nashville. There's videos, and I'll try to find one of them. He used to play with a guy whose name escapes me, who has been really an important figure on the Nashville live scene for a long time, and he's gone through all these amazing guitar players, and JD was one of them. But there's a video that I saw. Oh, I'm sure over 10 years ago, that of him just playing a white telly on this really, really fast track. And it was just amazing. It was really good. So that was my introduction to him probably 10 years ago. But yeah, he is a fine guitar player. Like his stuff.
I was flipping channels randomly, and it was on something from PBS, and
Yeah.
it was a little showcase, and it was just a girl bassist and a guy drumming, just a little
Right.
trio, and just blown away. The vocal
Cool.
songs were fantastic, but the instrumental songs were just
Yeah.
flat out amazing. And so it was nice to discover some new music that's actual music, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a real
Cool.
deal, you know? And I think the thing that I'll just say again, one of the things that I really like about him is that he really appreciates all this. He doesn't have you don't have to have vintage gear, but he really is a tone guy. He's into the best Fender tone and the best Marshall tone and great guitars. But there's something about we were just talking before we started recording, or how I've have quite a few amps. And there's something about amplifiers, even more so than guitars or instruments. There's something kind of special about them. A good guitar is a good guitar, but an amp has this, it's equally as important for a guitar player. I'm not sure how equally important it is for a bass player. It is important, but with the guitar, it's like crucial. And you figure out over a period of time what how you hear things.
Well, you know, the tone
Yeah.
of drum shells is very similar, because you can get a
Yeah.
top of the line kit and the wood is just no good, you know.
Yeah. You
Uh,
have to play an instrument. I tested an instrument, an acoustic. It was a little bit out of my price range. I'm in the market for one eventually. And it was from a luthier in California that I'd never heard of, but it just blew away everything else that was even close to it. And I don't need an instrument right now. I want one, but I don't need one. So I have resisted. But yeah, it just blew away everything else. Not even close.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have chosen to play that guitar had somebody. It was a very high end store. They had like 25,000 half stacks,
wow.
$25,000 half stacks, $12,000 acoustics. It was super high end. And this one was way less, but it was still a really, really great sounding guitar. But had the guy said, you really like this, and boy, he was right. I liked it. I almost liked it to where I almost took it home. I
Yeah.
did not. Yeah, it is such a funny thing. You have to have an instrument in your hands, or you have to be able to get sounds out of it to
Mhm.
figure out if it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And there is something about the weight of an instrument. And but with wood, I say this all the time to people, more so than anything else. And the person that's going to listen to this is going to probably text me next week and laugh. But I always say, trust your ears. Don't trust what somebody tells you, including me. I'm going to always try to give the best advice I can, but trust your ears. Your ears will never fail you. I mean, that's just the best advice I could ever give to anybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what somebody tells you.
Yeah, if you
'Cause
like the
that's their
sound of something,
opinion.
you like it, and if it touches you, it touches you. You know, if it
Well,
speaks to you,
yeah,
it
that's
speaks to
true.
you.
But it's an opinion, but nobody can get inside your head and know what you like and how you hear things. Something either works for you, or it doesn't. So I always tell people that trust your ears, people. They will never let you down. Okay,
Right.
so I like JD Simo. I know we went on a little tangent there, but
That's right. Yeah, Michael. what you
anything
been up
else?
to?
Is that it?
That's
Okay.
the basics for me.
Well,
Yeah.
I spent a day listening to Buck Owens
Ooh,
this week,
nice.
which I
Don
don't
Rich
know.
era?
What's that?
Don Rich era? Like before he died in 74?
Oh,
Like classic?
I don't.
Late
Well, yeah,
60s?
yeah.
You know who Don Rich is, the Telly Master, right?
Oh, okay.
His real name was Don Ulrich. But he
Yeah,
went by
yeah.
Don Rich. He
Now
was a
that you say Telly.
Mhm.
phenomenal Telecaster player.
Yeah,
He died in a motorcycle accident in 1974. He was a devastated Buck Owens. He was never the same after that. But yeah,
Yeah.
but from like 69 to 74, Buck Owens was the man.
yeah.
Good
I don't
stuff.
know what differentiates that Bakersfield sound. I
Mhm.
know I like it. Some country is hit or miss, take it or leave it. But
Right.
Buck Owens has a certain style that I really appreciate, and it's kind of like the Mavericks. I think a I mentioned them on the show before. They
Yeah.
have that kind of sound that I like, and maybe that's the Bakersfield sound. But yeah, listening to Buck Owens for a day, it's even if you don't like country, I think you'll enjoy that because it's just fun music. You know,
It
the
is
story he
fun.
tells, the way he tells it.
You know what I love about it? I agree with you. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's happy, as opposed to some of the more melancholic, down country type of flavor. This was
Did you say Conway Twitty?
Conway Twitty.
Conway will bring you down with some of his tunes, but Buck
Yeah.
Owens, even when he's
Hello, darling.
self-denigrating, he's it's a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
I only have a couple of albums, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they played together before.
Who's this?
Chet and Don Rich.
Oh, Don Rich was, he was on all this classic Tiger by the Tail and
Yeah.
all those classic recordings, but he was a really, really great harmony singer as well as player. But he was Buck Owens' right-hand man. It devastated him. I remember reading about him when we were kids. I mean, I was just into trying to soak up all that information. Guitar Player magazine and learn all about these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had to have read about Don Rich over 40 years ago. But
yeah, I don't know much about him, but when you mentioned the Telecaster, I could picture him in my head.
Yeah.
The other band I listened to is I don't know why I decided to, but Cassiopeia, Japanese fusion band. What's their drummer's name? Akira Jimbo.
Yes.
Great
What'd you
group.
call them?
Great group, fun to listen to. I don't know what to say. They're just a lot of fun. If you like jazz fusion, that's a good band to check out. And if you're not familiar, Cassiopeia. And the other day, I found this dude, singer from the 60s. You guys may be familiar with him. His name's Otis Redding. And
I think I've heard of him.
Listen to that all day. Phenomenal singer. Amazing. I will probably listen to him again very soon.
It's good music to sit on docks and listen to with,
It's been a minute since it's been a couple weeks since we recorded. So I've had opportunity to listen to quite a bit. And I have quite a list. I have a longer list than I normally have. And it is varied. It's all over the map. And that's how I listen to things. I don't stick to a genre. I couldn't tell you why I would go in these directions because there's nothing in common with any of these, pretty much. And it's almost comical. And I'm going to go in chronological order.
Give us the list and we'll do thumbs up or thumbs down.
Oh, man. I've been listening to the Flying Burrito Brothers, Graham Parsons.
Oh, wow.
1969 debut, Gilded Palace of Sin. Burrito #1 and #2, huge fans of those. And actually, I have to admit, I got introduced to those two songs via the Black Crowes. They did versions of those. I think they did a string of concerts out in San Francisco back in 2010. They recorded all those shows, and all those are available digitally on iTunes. And I heard the songs. I thought, God, that's great. And then I got into Graham Parsons for a little while and just bought a few of his recordings. Brass Buttons was one of my favorite tracks. So I love that country rock stuff. I really do. And I've been listening to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's 1971 live record, 4-Way Street. I got turned on to that record in 1989 by a friend. And I don't know why at that time of my life, I was just like really, really into Neil Young and Crosby, Stills and Nash. I went down that rabbit hole really far and just tried to soak up everything I could about it. And every time I would have somebody around me and I had an acoustic guitar, I'd say, let's sing harmony. So I would try to have them sing a third above me or below me or whatever it was. And I was so into it. But I am a huge fan of that record. It's rough around the edges. Yeah. It's not.
It's real, man.
It's real. Yeah, it's real. And I've been listening to Rick James, 1981 Street Songs.
Rick James, bitch.
I just love the production on that. And
Yeah, that's a good album.
I love how fun it is, and it makes me think of when we were really young, and a friend of ours, an acquaintance of ours, friend, um, via another friend. I used to go over his house, and he would had this playing, and I thought, man, I would never buy that, but that's cool. You know? Yeah, there were all these bands back then. You had Cameo,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
yeah,
Word Up.
bands. Yeah, well,
Yep.
this was actually Alligator Woman. This is way before that.
Yeah.
Word Up, I think, was 90. Alligator Woman was like 82. So that's the era I'm talking about, 81, 82.
Yeah.
Alligator Woman, still, I think that's a great fun song. And I've been listening to John Mellencamp's 1991, Whenever We Wanted. That had David Grissom join his band after Larry Crane pulled out. And it's a much more aggressive record in a way. He was using Marshalls. If you
Mhm.
listen to this now more than ever, and I can't think of the other song. Yeah, it's just you can just hear that Marshall. It's just got this particular tone, and it was so uncharacteristic for John Mellencamp at the time. But also the song like um, "Last Chance."
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
fantastic. That is a great record. I have to say that might be my favorite John Mellencamp record from beginning to end. It's really,
Yeah.
really good.
Last time I saw
And
him
yeah,
that was one of the best shows.
I've never seen him live.
Yeah, he's
Never
good.
seen him.
He's good.
Yeah, he I don't know, for whatever reason, just feels like music was a means to an end. That's the sense I get. He doesn't really celebrate it. It doesn't give it its due respect. It seems like in the conversations and interviews I've seen with him, he's like, it's just something I did. It's like, what? I mean, he
He's just
wrote a
downplaying
lot of
himself.
great. He definitely downplays. That's a shame. I just felt like it's almost a slap in the face to the people who bought your records and went to go see it shows.
Well, I
It's like,
think
what are you saying? That I wasted my time?
after you've been put on a pedestal, so to speak, for years and years and years, and you're
Yeah.
tired of it eventually, you might not want to have anything to do with that part of it. And
Who
it's
knows? There's a
yeah.
lot of psychological stuff going on. Maybe
Oh
he's
yeah.
just dealing with this stuff that who knows what's going on. But yeah, those I've been listening to other things, but I'll save that for another podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we've been listening to, people. So we will go ahead and get into our topic, and I will start.
Well, now
We're gonna
before we get started,
yeah.
did you guys have a criteria as to how you're going to narrow your list down? Were there some things that you omitted from this topic?
No, well, I can tell you how I approached it. I didn't. I say this time and time again. I never edit myself. I
Mhm.
never say, well, this is not worthy, or I know what you're asking. I'm not stating it well, but I get what
Yeah.
you're asking. I approached it like these are the instrumentals that I would not say people might say, well, that's one of the greatest instrumentals of all time. I approached it as like, well, what do these pieces of music mean to me?
That's how I did it.
How much have I listened to these in my lifetime? It doesn't matter about anything else.
Yeah.
These are my favorite instrumentals. I'm not saying that these are the 5 greatest, but we're doing 5, right?
Yeah.
I would never say these are the 5 best. I think people get caught up in that because I hear
Yeah.
people say this
Yeah,
to me
I did
from
the
time
same
to
thing
time. It's
how
like, why didn't you mention this one? I was like, because it was mine. It
yeah,
was my choice.
what they mean to me and how they make me feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like
Yeah.
I have some classical pieces that I really like, and I'll
Yeah.
listen to now and then. But I left those off just because,
Well, that counts. It's instrumental.
well, it counts. But also, we talk about jazz a lot here, and most of that's instrumental. The
Yeah.
stuff we talk about anyway. So
Yeah.
I kind of left that off. I just picked some like you guys. I picked songs that mean something to me that were close to my heart.
Right.
But I left the TV themes and that kind of thing because I think TV themes would be another show we do in the future. So saving that ammo for later. So the 5 that made an impact on me, that took my got my attention. That's what I went with. But some of those bands, Tangerine Dream, ELP, those bands that you might listen to on a regular basis that even Russian Circles. I've listened to them a lot. They didn't quite make the cut, so it's just singular songs that I picked out.
Yeah, my genre wise is everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine's pretty
know,
much all over the place.
Mine's pretty straightforward.
Um, these are pieces of music that really I've listened to a ton
Mhm.
and I've gone back to, and I think I've got roughly 20 picks that I'm choosing from, and I'm literally going to make a decision in the moment.
Nice.
But
Oh, yeah?
yeah, I haven't narrowed this down because these all mean a lot to me. This is
Like
what
what,
this is my
Jamie?
moment.
That's how we
Huh?
get started.
Yeah. Well, why don't you start then, Jamie,
Okay, I'm gonna
in chronological order?
say the 1969 track "Albatross" by Fleetwood Mac is a piece of music that I've
okay.
listened to
Okay, wow.
time and time again. It's emotional. It's just got so much vibe, and it just makes me feel good. I love that piece of music.
Wow.
Um,
I haven't heard that in so long.
Yeah.
yeah, I
neither.
want to say
Check it out.
I could be wrong about this. I think Danny Kerwin wrote that. I don't think Peter Green wrote it, but I could be
Mhm.
wrong about that. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that's a Kerwin. He was really a tragic figure,
Mhm.
you know, but he was such an important part of that chemistry back in those years. The then play on 1970, and I guess that was 70. Maybe that was 69, but
Yeah.
that crucial period. Yeah, yeah, that's just beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's
And
a good song.
I think that song influenced Sun King by the Beatles on Abbey
Mm.
Road. They're
Yeah.
very similar if you listen to them, but I've read that
Mhm.
before, but it's plausible. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pieces of music, and I guess you could analyze it and say there's not much to it, but it's just about the way it makes me feel and how
Mhm.
much I've
Yeah.
listened to it. That's enough criteria for me. Put it in my top 5.
Nice. Yeah. I hadn't heard that in a million years.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Gotta
beautiful
go listen
piece, I
to
think.
Who's next?
Go ahead.
I'll go. I'll go.
I saw you getting jumpy over there.
I
You go
like
ahead.
getting jumpy. Where do I want to start here? I'm going to start with one of my favorite bands that Jamie and I have been discussing via text, and I haven't really gotten
Yeah.
back on it. Mogwai. This is a song called Auto Rock. And let me sidebar here. I
Yeah.
love Mogwai. I love 99.99% of their music.
Mhm.
I do not like that they sometimes title songs with what seem to be nonchalant or throwaway titles. Like they're all getting drunk and they're like, let's call this song Gravel Carpet, because some of their song titles are so abstract and so avant-garde, and it doesn't, for me, it doesn't go with the music. I'm
Hmm.
like, why would you title this song that? It doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
It takes the title is distracting from how the music sounds and feels. But anyway, sidebar over. They can do what they want. Don't come at me.
Well, as
Why
an
don't you
instrumental, you
contact
can
them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
you can
get ahead of
contact
it.
them and
Yeah,
offer it. Say, "Hey, I'll listen to these in advance, and I'll offer a song
as
title."
a
yeah, sure.
as an instrumental, I feel like you can pretty much name it anything.
Yeah, I
It
mean
doesn't
that's the
necessarily,
that's the
like
thing. Well, some of them are titled, I would say, in my opinion, appropriately. Oh yeah, okay, I get that. But then a lot of times, it doesn't make sense to me. It might make sense to them, and if they could explain it, that'd be great. But anyway,
Right.
the song is called Auto Rock, instrumental, obviously, from the album Mr. Beast, no relation to the YouTuber, um, from 2006. And when I discovered this song, it was used near the end of the movie version of Miami Vice.
Hmm.
And it's very moving scene and a very emotional scene, and the music is perfect.
Okay.
I don't know if Michael Mann chose that song. I guess he did. He's very involved in his movies.
Well, most of those projects have a musical supervisor.
Yeah, and
That's a
he's
big job.
big time. But it's perfect, and I was just blown away. Like, what is this music? I've got to know what this music is,
Right.
and that's how I discovered the band. And it starts off very subtly, very calmly, It's just piano. It's just some chords, some keyboards, and then it just builds and builds. And there's a drum part, but it's not a traditional type drum part, and it just builds to this crescendo, and it's over. And that it's just like it's very emotional and it fits. And like I said, immediately I was like, "What is this music?" You know. So again,
There's
that's
a
just
connection there.
yeah, and it's just very and like we were talking a second ago, very important to me. And I've
Yeah.
listened to it a bunch of times, you know.
Right.
And it's
That's still
nothing.
your favorite record?
Um,
Not that song necessarily, but just that record. I mean, does that record stand out to you, or is it
the
they're
record
not that
stands
kind of
out. I
band?
don't know if it's be my favorite. It'd be hard to
Yeah.
choose a favorite because they got so many good songs. Like I said, I'm going to make a list for you.
Yeah, I really wanna get
And
inside your
again,
head and figure out what you're listening to.
like you were,
Clearly, this band means something to you because you would approach writing this way. There's
well, like you
something
just
about
said
them.
with Albatross, the song,
Right,
not a lot happens,
right.
but it enough happens to where it makes you feel something. You know, it's very,
Yeah,
and a lot of their songs seem to not go anywhere. And
yeah,
sometimes music like that is not for everyone. Like jazz is
right,
not for everyone. They can't understand it. They can't feel it. They can't comprehend it, and that's okay.
right.
Um, but it's not. They're not your typical group that writes, you know, A section, B section, C section. Here's the middle. You know, I mean, they do have songs like that, but it's very open ended, and sometimes it can just be a couple chord changes through the entire song. You know, basically that's what this song is. It's just repeating and building. You know, it's very emotional, but it's very ominous at the same time, you know?
See, that's interesting to me. I don't wanna go too far into this because we don't have
Yeah.
time, but I do find it interesting that I think the headspace that I'm currently in is more about traditional song structure,
Mhm.
where it's modulating and I'm getting like an uplift. And I listened to several pieces and it felt like it was kind of more linear.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
A lot of their
uh
music is very meditative to me,
yeah,
and
so
I
there's
think it
something
gets
that
to
you're
a
hearing
point
that I'm
when
not listening for. I
you wanna
wasn't.
sustain that feeling, you know?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I would like to get a list of some
Yeah, I'm
songs that
definitely
you
gonna
think
make one
about.
for you.
Yeah,
Make one for
I'd
you.
be interested. I did check out several, but I am
Yeah.
interested in exploring it further. So cool. All
Alright.
right, Mike.
This you mentioned, isn't it a great feeling when you hear that song and you're like, what is that?
Love
It's
it. It's
like you
one of the
might be
best
listening
things.
to the music
Yeah.
or just in the moment, not even, whatever you're experiencing. And then that song comes on and it just grabs you and you're like, what is that? I have to find out what it is. I have to get that so I can listen to it again.
One of the greatest
So
feelings, yes.
yeah, I remember several instances where I was in several music stores or something. And I was like, I had asked the guy at the counter, what is that you're playing right now? I've got to have it.
Yeah.
So that's a great feeling to discover music that way.
Yeah. And
Just
like we said
my
before,
opinion.
watching a television show or a movie where there's a piece of music, like it really grabs you.
Mhm.
Well, I've discovered
I would say like you, but both, I have discovered a lot of music that way. It's
Yeah.
just piece of music that maybe I'm not into that band or person, but that piece of music really made an impression on me. I was like, well, I want that.
I've discovered so
So
much music from NPR bumper music. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a thing will end and then they'll start playing something. I'm like, oh, what is this? What is this? It's cool. And I
yeah,
forget to turn on Google.
Yeah.
I'm like, hurry before it's over because it's such a short piece that they play. But
That's funny because I've done that too.
yeah,
Discovered stuff, and you hear stuff you might be familiar with. It's like, I know that song.
hmm
So that's funny. You found fun music there. Um, I feel like I don't do the homework because I don't have the album and the year. I don't have to have the year because Jamie will tell us.
maybe.
Uh, Hot Butter's version of Popcorn. Just, I love that song when I was a kid, man. It was so goofy, and that poppy Moog sound,
hmm
and there's so many versions of it. It's a silly song, but it's such a great song, and everybody knows it. The song Popcorn, probably, well, not my favorite recording, but certainly my favorite video of it is the Swedish Chef from the Muppets
Oh yeah,
making popcorn shrimp in the kitchen,
eat the
and he's playing
popcorn.
it, yeah, playing it on the pots and pans. But Hot Butter, their version of Popcorn, I think it came out in the late 60s, and then it was released again, Popcorn on Moog. It was recorded differently, but yeah, it's been re-recorded so many times since it was first introduced. But just a great fun dance song. Almost all on synthesizers. I think what's that annoying frog that did the Axel F song where he rapped along to it? I think he had a version of Popcorn, but anyway, that's my pick. Hot Butters. Popcorn.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love the fact that we don't know where we're going with these. You know, no, I mean, it's great. I think this is entertaining for those who are listening.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the goal for us is always to turn people on to new things.
Yeah.
If we can do that a fraction of what we've experienced, I think that is awesome. So, you know, if I could tell you about a song, it's like, hey, I love the song. That would be amazing if somebody checked that out and go, that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think Popcorn was probably very special just because it was almost all synthesizers, and that was a very new instrument at the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's slowly making its way to the forefront, and that's one of those songs that really brought attention to it.
Yes.
People heard it is making that sound.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. My second choice here is one of the a song by one of the finest acoustic guitar players ever, in my opinion.
You embarrass me.
Go
ahead.
This gentleman's name is Tony Rice.
Oh, I was wrong.
And this was I think this was off his debut solo record, but it was also off a David Grisman record. Quartet. I should know if it was a quartet or quintet. It's quintet's singing right, but I might be wrong about that. The song is called Swing 51, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of music. And I got turned on to it back at Smith Whitley so many years ago by someone. Who that person was, I do not recall. I love the David Grisman record, and I love Tony Rice's debut record. I think that the older I've gotten, even though I'm always impressed with musicianship or technical ability, not musicianship.
Yeah.
But let me see. I'm not saying this right. I've always been impressed with technical ability, especially when you're younger. And we've said this on a previous podcast episode. When you're younger and you're learning to play, you're really, really impressed with technical ability and how fast somebody is and how efficient they are.
Yeah.
But the older I've gotten, the less I care about that. It's all about musical content and musicianship. The musicianship, to me, has less to do with technical ability than it has to do with knowledge of music and being able to effectively paint a picture with the song. The more information you know, the better.
Yeah.
And we could get into that conversation about theory and lack of it, or, having it. I'm firm a believer in the more knowledge you have, the better, regardless of whatever the case is. But anyways, Swing 51 is just a great, great piece of music. And it's, I call it jazz grass. There is, it's a very sophisticated bluegrass music, but it's just beautiful.
Yeah, Tony was amazing.
Anybody who has not heard that song, it's just fantastic. I encourage you to go out and listen to it. I love it. So that's my number second.
Great.
Cool.
Let's see here. I'm going to go with a band not known for their instrumentals. I don't know how many they have.
Cool.
It's probably less than 5. Duran, as they say.
Oh.
This is from, it's a song called Lakeshore Driving from Big Thing from 1988. And it is 3.5 minutes or so of just some beautiful Warren Cucurullo just playing open chords, and there's a little less track near the end of some high-pitched squeals and some soloing, and it's just it's just a cool piece of music.
I don't think I've heard it. You know,
Yeah.
the 88 was
Mm.
sort of the era that they were really in between
Yeah, well, see,
massive success of the 80s and
Notorious
prior
came
to the
out when
90s.
the band kind of split their own
Yeah.
kind of, and they
So
came back.
Roger Taylor had left. Andy,
Yeah,
of course, had left.
yeah, and this is when Warren and Sterling Campbell was the drummer on this album, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Um, so,
Yeah. I've seen
yeah,
him play
it's
live before.
nice.
Yeah.
It's just a cool. Again, you could drive to this song and you're like, I need to put this on repeat because it's too short. You know, if this was like 30 minutes
Yeah.
long or something, it would be cool. But yeah, it's just a nice little piece of music that's uncharacteristic for them because there's distortion and it's just it's heavy. It's Duran Duran doing heavy rock, basically. You know, there's no lyrics, obviously instrumental, but
Right.
it's just
I'll have to check that out.
yeah, it's just a cool little song, and it just every time I hear it, I think, wow, I forgot about this song. You know,
Oh, wow.
not that I forgot about it, but it's just
Mhm.
you know, you got so many songs in your head, and you think, oh, I forgot about this song. But
It is a funny thing. Like 88, I can very vividly recall that was a year of going back for me. It was not about listening to anything new.
mhm.
That year, I started listening to Genesis. Yes.
Yeah.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Led Zeppelin. I mean, I was late bloomer to
Mhm.
Zeppelin. I've said on a previous episode, I was not a fan of Zeppelin in high school. Maurice Spagnola is totally responsible for me getting into so many bands from that and opening my eyes. It's like, this is what you got to listen to. You think you know, but you don't know. And
Mhm.
he was right. He really, really helped educate my ears to what was great about these bands. And, but I can vividly remember buying Foxtrot and selling England by the pound and buying Fragile and Close to the Edge and the first couple of CSNY records or CSN and then CSNY. I
Mhm.
wasn't listening to anything new back then. It was just all was just totally into the late 60s and early 70s. So I have no recollection at all of hardly anything. One of the only releases in 1988 that I could tell you off the top of my head is the church record,
Hmm.
Starfish. That came out in 88.
Yeah.
That one made an impression on me. That's one of the only new recordings that I could even tell you about in 1988.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is funny how, we all are going on different journeys,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
different paths. Yep. Yep.
but I will check that out.
Yep. It's a great little track.
Cool. Oh goodness, I want to talk about all of them as always. I don't have that many, but let's see who is going to be next. L1011 is a great group. Are they on your list?
Yeah, no, but
No?
I
Okay.
left them off on just because I've mentioned it before. I'm
Yeah.
trying to talk about people not necessarily I've mentioned 1,000 times.
Not only impressive just because there's two people playing all the music, but the choices they make in the music. The bass guitars just has a tremendous bass sound. It's solid. There's nothing crazy about it, but it's a solid sound. And then he puts distortion on it and it sounds totally different. And then he goes up an octave or uses an EBO or even a slide. And he uses all his options along with all the processing he uses. And then the drummer also has electronic drums, carries the bass pattern, and it's just tremendous how they, you start with a pattern and it's all about looping and layering and then stopping that pattern to play something else and build on it, and then it comes back around. It's just it's a great listen, even if you're not analytical about the music. There's a lot to listen to. It's a lot of fun. It's a great feeling. It's a great atmosphere. Did I even mention the song? I didn't mention the song. L1011. I'm gonna go with Point Breeze.
Oh, nice.
Point Breeze is an excellent rocking song. There's so many others.
Yes,
You're talking about crazy titles. This great song is I like Van Halen because my sister says they're cool.
Yeah, see,
What a
that's
great
a cool
title.
title.
That's
It's
a cool
fun
title. So
That's a great t-shirt, man.
yeah. So yeah, L1011 Point Breeze is a great song, great one to start out on if you want to check out the band. We saw them in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw them in Raleigh, and it's funny because because they're looping, doing it live, sometimes it gets out of sync,
I was
and
gonna
it
mention
got
that.
out of
And they
sync
had to
at that
start
show.
over. They were in about 2 minutes into the song, and there's like, wait, stop.
And it was not like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, huh, we screwed up. Let's start over. And it was cool. It was a great vibe. They put out a great vibe and a great performance. So
Because of those loops, if you get off by even a quarter of a beat, you're done. There's
if
nothing you can do.
you're doing 5 loops at a time, playing the melody over the
It's
top
insane.
of it, it's a
I don't see how he keeps.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just like any instrumental band, and they are instrumental. It's just the same thing with me with Mogwai. Sometimes I'm like, what song is this? I've heard it 1,000 times. What's the name of this, or what album is this? Because they're all instrumental,
Yeah. And I really I like the idea of the drummer. There are 2-person bands, Death from Above, 1979, and Royal Blood, where the drummer keeps the beat, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I really like the idea in L1011, the drummer has electronics and he carries the bass part or some of the rhythm on, tonally is not just drums, not atonal. He plays a pattern underneath to carry the rhythm or the what's the word I'm thinking of? Not the melody, but the musical
harmony.
pattern underneath. Yeah. So it's a great band and a lot of
Let
fun.
me ask you guys a question. I don't want to go too much on tangent, but I had a mutual friend of ours send me a link this morning, and not where my head is at all. And I'm always honest, for better or for worse. If I like it, I'm not going to lie and say, well, it's great. And not to just be polite. It's like, I just don't like it. And I don't, whatever. And I think I sent a link back to him of Keith Jarrett, which I've been listening to a little bit lately.
Yeah.
So the question is this, I don't know that I think that I'm in a period, and I have been for a few years. I think it's probably going to pass, but I'm curious for you guys, if you guys go through 3-year periods, 5-year periods, where you just kind of, your head's in this little space, and then I'm sure it's not cut and dry by intervals, but you go through periods where you just want to hear things of a certain genre or style, and then you're like, okay, I've had enough of that. I'm ready for something new. And it does concern me a little bit because I have zero interest in anything new. I just don't have any interest whatsoever. I've been enjoying so much analyzing stuff that I've heard so many times. And it's not just listening, I'm analyzing it and studying it. It's like, okay, and I'm getting gratification on another level than just passive listening. And that's been very fulfilling for me. I don't know if that's going to pass, but I'm enjoying it and I'm not regretting any of it, but it's kind of made me, I was like, God, I don't know how healthy it is or unhealthy it is,
as long as you're not being snooty about it, or you're not.
No, I don't.
Like you said, if you're listening to other stuff we suggest, then you're fine, or that you're
I'm open to anything new.
Fine. I mean, we go. I know I might go through not years, but definitely months at a time to where I'm just keyed in on certain feels or certain emotions from music or certain just whatever. If I'm into drums for a couple of months, then I might be into keyboards for the month after that, or something might hear say, oh, I'm into heavy guitars this week, or next week I might be into bass tones. Who knows? It's very off the cuff. I just go with whatever strikes my fancy. Basically, I might hear a song on the radio and go, wow, I haven't listened to that in a long time. Then I'll go down a rabbit hole and listen to all the new wave bands from 78 to 82,
well, with me not listening to any sort of radio, that definitely prevents me from being, having access to something new. It's much more unlikely.
Yeah.
And it does concern me a little bit, because I don't want to be perceived as a snob. I have several friends that's like, God, man, they're mentioning all these bands. It's like, I've never heard of them. You know, it's like, God, man,
Well, you know, people have
I'm a
suggested
musician.
a
Why?
lot of
I don't
bands,
even know who this is.
and I check them out, and I'm like, nah, pass. You know,
Well, I
and
don't want to be that way, but you
well,
know,
sometimes you got to pass.
well, you
If it's
know,
not your cup of tea, and you know there's nothing there that's going to.
well, there's something to, you know, when we were younger, well, you know, earlier in my musical development, let me put it that way. Would hear a lot of people say, "Well, Geddy Lee is not my cup of tea." You know,
Who said that?
I can't listen to Rush because I don't like his voice. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
how
I've heard
come
people say that a
Yeah.
bunch.
I don't like Neil Young because I don't like his voice. They can't, or Bob Dylan for that matter. They can't get past that
Mhm.
one element. I
Mhm.
thought I don't want to ever be that person.
Yeah.
Now I'm that person.
I'm not that person.
It's not that I don't. It's not a voice. It's not somebody's voice. What it is, actually, it is one band's voice. I won't say who they are. I can't get past them. I've never
I
really
know who it
enjoyed
is.
them because of, yeah, starts with a D.
It ends with a T.
That's right. And but most of it is got to do with guitar sounds. There's a certain thing that is pervasive in the music industry where producers, and it's just human nature. Okay, well, 10 people did it, so I'm going to do it too. And
Mhm.
I just detest that. I
Mhm.
want to hear something different. I don't want to hear what all these other people are doing. And you either or you can tune into it or you can't. But there's a certain production value and guitar sound that I hear so much that I just do not like at all. Once I hear it, I'm like, I'm done. I don't even want to hear it. And the music has to be really, really well crafted and a great song
Oh,
in order to bring me in.
one
I
of my
can't get
favorite
past the
songs
sounds.
all time has a terrible snare drum sound, and no matter how many times I listen to it, still, if I even put it in the back of my head, I can still hear that. I wish they'd have had a better snare drum sound, you know. But I still
Well,
love the song, so I can. If the song is great, if the song is good, I can appreciate it, regardless of who's playing it, what genre it is, even if it's a crappy recording. If it's a great song, good
oh
song,
yeah, it's
I
got
can get
nothing to
in.
do with the recording.
Yeah,
To me, it's got, I mean, really the production, I don't mean production in terms of fidelity.
yeah,
I'm much more into the performance.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the
I've been listening
moves
to punk rock from the late 70s and early 80s, a band called the Corpse Grinders.
Mhm.
Some members of the New York Dolls started this band. I mean, this is rough.
Mhm.
Production wise, it's awful. But there's
Well,
something that's got my attention that makes me want to
yeah,
listen to it. I don't know what that is, but
most
I
punk
think,
rock from that time is almost unlistenable.
yeah, but the insanity of listening to Tony Rice and getting this enjoyment out of that, and then being able to listen to the Corpse Grinders 30 minutes later.
Well,
How
that's not
normal is that?
that's
I
not
don't know.
insanity.
I don't know what's normal.
That's
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 just how
human nature.
that's how I am. I'm just all over the place.
Yeah,
I
I
Yeah.
can.
love it all.
Same.
But yeah, you know, I actually just want to say one thing before I get off the subject. I said a few minutes ago that you know, the more you know, knowledge is always better. But sometimes I was getting ready to say, well, I'm going to contradict myself. Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes the less you know, the happier you are. You know, so I think that that's the general truth in life. That's the older I've gotten, I've realized I've said that to people. They're like, what are you talking about? I was like, ignorance is bliss, man. That's what I mean. Sometimes you're not happy when you know stuff.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes
Yeah.
just the fact.
know more, and other times
That's right.
I wish I knew
That,
less.
yeah.
Do
Yeah.
not tell me how this hot dog is made. Let me enjoy it.
All right, Mike. So, are any more comments on that pick, or
What pick was it?
well, you
That's
just
off the
spoke.
rails.
Okay.
L1011 Point
It
Breeze.
was you. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie's turn now.
Great
Okay.
Yep.
sound.
All right. So my next choice is 1978's Al Di Meola's version of Senor Mouse, which is a
Okay.
composition by Chick Corea.
Yeah.
I think that was off of their 73 record, Return to Forever record, Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy, Bill Connor on guitar, Bill Connors. And it's not the same. I love Bill Connors as a guitar player. Yeah, I think he doesn't get enough credit in that fusion world. I think he's a phenomenal guitar player.
Mhm.
But Al Di Meola's version off, I think that's Casinos, that record. from '78. I love that record, and I've listened to that recording a lot.
Yeah.
And I just think his interpretation of that song is the best. And I've turned a lot of people onto that through the years. I'm like, oh man, that's really cool. But I think it's a great performance. There's joy in it, and it's just a great melody. It's just more. It's not your typical jazz melody.
Mhm.
It's really, really melodic. So, as a young man, that captured my attention, and I've continued to enjoy it. So that's number 3 for me.
Yeah.
Yep. Good choice.
There aren't many guitarists that really catch my attention, but Al Di Meola
Yeah,
certainly does with just about everything he does.
yeah.
And that's
He's a
that's
unique
really
player.
good. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of guitarists, I'm going to mention a guitarist.
Ooh,
Um,
my surprise face.
Jeff Beck being said guitarist, God rest his soul.
Phew, man, there's so many that I could pick by him.
Well, this one is called "Where Were You?"
Yeah,
from
Guitar Shop,
Guitar Shop
1989.
album, 1989.
I love that album.
Yes, and there, if you've not heard that song, just go listen to it because it might be one of the best guitar performances ever for emotion and for
It's magical.
depth. Yes, it's any word you can say like that is appropriate for this song.
You know, I'm just gonna say real quickly about that song. I want to say, was that Tony Hymas in the
Mhm.
band keyboards? Was Terry Bozzio also in the band?
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was those 3.
So I had heard Jeff Beck for years prior to that, but it was really at that point that I understood this guy is way different.
Oh, yeah.
He's on a different level than your mortal.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It was at this point he knew he.
right. But I will say this real quickly. When I was 8 years old, you used to be able to go into these places, record stores and things, and they would have these T-shirts they would make, print on T-shirts, and they would put names. And when I was 8 years old, one of my sisters got me a Jeff Beck T-shirt. I don't know who Jeff Beck was. Why they got it for me, I have no idea. But I had a Jeff Beck T-shirt when I was 8, and that would have been right around Blow by Blow.
Yeah.
They knew you were going to play guitar one day.
I don't know. I have wondered about that. Yeah, this was before I really showed any real interest in music. But I've listened to plenty of recordings, and prior to Where Were You, he came out with a record, Flash,
Mhm.
1985, and prior to that, he had done the recordings with Tina Turner off
Mhm.
her Private Dancer record. And the solo that he plays on the song Private Dancer is still one of my all-time favorites. And he used a 1984 Jackson soloist on that, a pink one that he had her carve her name into it, that just sold for, I don't know, $500,000 or something
Mhm.
Yeah.
at his estate sale. But it's such a beautiful phrasing, and I started to really appreciate what he did. But when Where Were You came out with the Guitar Shop record, it's just undeniable.
Mhm.
It's just on a different level. And to have that sort of intonation with a whammy bar,
Yeah.
nobody's done it to this day.
No,
Not
it's
like that.
Yeah.
It's unearthly. It's
It's so
From somewhere else.
ethereal. It's just ghostly, but it's just
And
completely.
every
it's
word you can say
incredible.
like that.
It's incredible. Yeah,
and it's such an emotional
it is.
song. Depending on when you listen to it, what's going on in your life, you're either going to smile or burst into tears.
Yeah, it's a very powerful piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I love it.
Good one. Okay, let me put on the spectacles.
Spectacle of yourself.
I do. I will. King Crimson's Sheltering Sky. It's such all of King Crimson's music really just bowled me over as soon as from that period, that band in the 80s. But Sheltering Sky is such an amazing song. There's just something, we're talking about the emotional effect, and there's something in that just reaches me, just moves me. I feel my energy rising when I hear that song. I just get excited about it. And
Yeah.
it's whether it's the plaintive picking, in the rhythmic picking in the background, the Tony Levin's bass part is really haunting where it comes in and out. Oh, excuse me. I'm getting all choked up right now.
There.
Pat him on the back.
Um, just the subtleties in the song really bring out the emotional guitar solo in it. And whether it's Robert Fripp on the record, which I love, we went to see the Beat Tour, and that's the one song I didn't want them to mess up because Steve Vai is such a different player than Robert Fripp. And when it got to that
waiting for the note.
I was waiting for that last high note, and Steve Vai came over to our side of the stage, and he's, egging to the audience on. Gosh, but that song is about perfect for me.
He cheered out loud when Steve hit the note properly. He's like,
I saw Steve Vai play a short YouTube video or something. I forget what it was on, but he demonstrated how he approached Robert Fripp's breakdown and frame by frame. And I couldn't quite remember how, and it was finger tapped. And very wisely, he thought, I'm going to play this how I play it. I'm going to interpret it my way. And I totally respect that. I have total respect for Steve Vai. But I'm not a big fan of tapping. I just have never really been into it. There's a handful of people that I enjoy, but to me, it just doesn't appeal to me sonically. Then I listened to the original version with Fripp, and I thought I much, much prefer the way Fripp played it.
Yeah.
But it was just too kooky. I'm sure that Steve Vai could technically do it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not about technically being able to pull it off. These are the things this is my little sidebar. When you're covering a song for so many people feel compelled to play it note for note.
Yeah.
How a band plays it on record. I have never followed that.
Yeah.
Play it how you can play it with conviction and get the point across. Try to do it justice, but it's insanity because the great bands never played it the same way. You got to know your instrument well enough and know the song well enough that you can interpret it and be in the moment and play it how you want to play it then. To try to just capture every inflection of something, that's nuts. I just have never, ever wanted to be in a band like that. I might be in the minority. I know a lot of people like to hear things just like they're on record. I would have zero interest in listening to that or being in a band like that.
Home and listen to the record. I'd like to hear some interpretation.
Yeah. Well, there's those high points that you want them to hit.
No, I understand. I'm not arguing that point. I agree with you.
As much as I would have wanted to see Robert Fripp play those notes live.
Yeah.
The Beat Tour was coming. They played a few places before they got here to North Carolina, and I watched the performances on YouTube. And I saw one, I think it was in Texas, where Steve Vai played that song, and he overdid it. I thought, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to see this. But when we got to see them, I was ready for him to kind of overdo it. But he was perfect. He wasn't Robert Fripp. He couldn't be Robert Fripp.
Right.
He was Steve Vai, but he played his interpretation and hit the emotional cues. And it was tremendous. It was amazing.
That's what you would want anybody to do. What more can you ask of anybody?
And like Grant said, he hit that last high note, and I was ready for it. And I was so excited just by that. So
I'll just finish with. I think that with Steve Vai, it was so good for him to do this tour.
Oh yeah, creative.
So I think more for him as much as anybody in terms of getting him out of his comfort zone. I think he really, really had to work to get to this where it was comfortable for him, because Adrian Blue is such a genius in his own way and master. He is the master of ceremonies,
a monster player there.
He's just a great musician,
Well, all of them were,
they're all incredible.
Are great. Tony Levin knows
right.
exactly what to play. When backing up the band, he stands out without standing out. He doesn't try to, look at me. He's playing exactly what he does, and his choice of notes is perfect. When there's space to fill in, he knows whether to do
And
that or not.
sonically, he's just one of the greatest ever. He knows
Amazing.
exactly what sound is going to complement this piece of music.
Yeah,
I don't know that I can say that about another bass player.
yeah.
I'm such a fan of his.
The only other bass player like that I could think of would be Anthony Jackson.
Well, Anthony Jackson is a completely different bass player, of course, and he
Yes, that's true.
has just technique for days. But sonically, to be able to change things up depending on it's almost like think about who he played with: Peter Gabriel, King Crimson. Did he play with Paul Simon? Maybe not,
No.
but he's
He
played a
serviced one of-
lot of different stuff, and he just intuitively knows. He played with John Lennon, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
He intuitively knows how to sonically put his thing into this piece of music.
Yeah,
And it's so incredibly, it's just impressive. I mean, it's gotten less to do with, there's so many elements to being a great musician. People just get caught up in the technical ability, but there's so many things. Sonically, it is so crucial that you know when to put your
Yeah.
spice into that recipe
Yeah.
Just because you
and
can
when to leave it
note
out.
doesn't mean you're perfect for that song or you're going to even play the
Yeah.
right part. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why certain people are in bands together and other people aren't, you know?
Well, that's why so few people are the greats.
Mhm.
I mean, there's lots of fine musicians out there, but to be one of the greats, you have to have that special sauce,
Special
and
sauce. And that's
there's
why I mentioned Anthony Jackson. He too knows exactly when and where and what to put into the song
yeah.
to elevate it, and that
Enhance it,
whether
make it-
that means
yeah.
playing a note or
Or
not
not
playing a note.
note. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
he's
the-
one of my favorite bass players ever,
Yeah.
but I would say that Abe L'Oreal is also one of my top jazz bass players.
Yeah.
Just exceptionally musical. He has technique, but he's so musical. And at this point in my life, that's what I want to hear is musicality. I can tell whether you're musical or not.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
just playing to play. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
It's got to be musical. And there's something that not enough players, I mean, few players have it. But when you know they've got it, it's magical.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love your choice. This is going to be a longer episode than we thought it might be. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, got lots
I-
to say tonight.
You'll have
All
to
right.
pardon me. I've had a cough all week, so
Okay.
just catching up with
I'll
me
try
on
to
the
talk
show.
as much as I can, so you have to talk less.
Okay, that sounds good. Just a touch of TB. It's nothing to worry about.
All right, my number 4 choice is Quincy Jones from 1981's The Dude. This is an instrumental called Velas. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of music, and I only discovered it, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Mhm.
It's off. It's got Toots Thielmans.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not sure how to pronounce his last name, but the legendary harmonica player.
Mhm.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful melody, and I've listened to it so much, and it's usually always on my phone if I want to just listen to that. But it's just if you were to analyze it to a piece of music compared to others, somebody'd say that's not that exceptional. But it's just how everything comes together. It's the production, which is Quincy Jones' production, is
Yeah.
fantastic. And there is something probably nostalgic for that era. I am very tuned in to that period of my life because it was so important for my
Mhm.
development
Yeah.
and getting turned on to things. And it does take me back to that period of time. And I am sentimental about it. I'm not sentimental that much, but about those type of things, I am very sentimental. And
Yeah.
it just puts me in a happy place when I hear something like that. It just takes me back.
When they were learning, and they're very I'm sentimental about all the time. I was learning.
Yeah.
I mean, first,
Yeah.
learning, obviously,
I don't know how you couldn't be,
it'd be weird to not be.
Well, I mean, usually for most people, it's a very happy time. It's just time of discovery, and you're just turned on by all this stuff. And
Yep.
it just usually brings back positive memories.
All right.
So that's my number 4 choice.
Nice. I'm going to go with a jazz musician this time. I'm going to go with the song. A musician, Branford Marsalis. We're familiar with him, obviously.
Yep.
This is a song called "Lament," and it's off the Renaissance album from '87, and it's a lament. It's again emotional, melancholy, as you would think a song titled
Right.
"Lament" should be.
Is
But
it
it's
in a
not.
minor? Is it in a minor key?
I would, yeah, I believe it is. No, it's not overly melancholy. It's not. It's not so melancholy. It's depressive, which some songs can be, but it's just, and it's got a wistfulness too, which I think works better than if if the song is just a downer all the way through.
Right.
Um, and it's mostly piano and saxophone. The brushes. Tony Williams plays drums on that album.
Oh wow, is that right?
Yeah, and it's a very
Okay.
subtle drum part and bass part. I forget who plays bass. Sorry, but the saxophone is definitely tenor sax is up front, and but it's not overbearing. It's if you're gazing out wistfully across the sky, thinking about something that's sad to you. Yes, there you go.
Is
And,
Daryl Jones on that? Is
Sure.
he the bass player on that
no,
record?
he's not on the. He's not the.
Not
On the,
Tracy Wormworth.
no, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
I
not
don't
familiar with that
know. I
record, but I just
apologize.
know those were two of the top players in that period.
Yeah, and that album has a couple of other really favorite songs of mine on it as well. But yeah, "Lament" is just
Cool.
a good lament if you're feeling a little blue. That's something good to listen to.
I'll check it out. I am not familiar with it. That was
Yeah,
during my discovery period of
gotcha,
previous decades.
gotcha.
Oh, yeah, sort of. I was listening to some new stuff. We won't get into that, but we almost got into it.
Let's not.
No, we are going to
Don't
talk about. Yeah, my
don't
final choice will be
do
one of
it.
these, and we'll
Okay.
talk about it in a minute.
Well, then do it.
What are we on, number 4?
We're on 4, sir.
I can't believe
No.
I'm gonna
I
go-
thought we were on five. Oh, yeah.
No, we're
My
on
five.
4.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're number 4. That's correct.
I can't believe
Sorry.
between the three of us how little we mentioned Rush when we're talking about different songs. But I have to bring up Rush for "Leave That Thing Alone."
Yeah.
It's my kind of instrumental. I feel like I kind of cop off Rush in that way. You've got so many parts that blend, not really blend. What's the word? I'm always a loss for words here, kids. But you have a pattern that they're back and forth on, and then it blends into another pattern, then into another pattern, and there's like a solo, and then it comes back to that introductory pattern. And I like that feel, that structure of an instrumental, and everybody gets their part. It's not way overdone like La Villa Strangiato, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know I love that tune, but it's pretty indulgent. But "Leave That Thing Alone" is like, for me, the perfect instrumental, rock instrumental.
I actually like that better than YYZ. Don't stone me.
Now that's off of Counterpart from '93, right?
Counterpart, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I love that
Or
song. I really liked Alex's part,
Yeah.
his solo, his melody. Alex does. I've been really. I actually listened to 2 versions of La Villa Strangiato yesterday.
Hmm?
I listened.
Freco.
I don't know. I thought it was Counterparts.
No, it's. I think it's Counterparts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm almost positive it is.
But yeah, Alex's guitar starting off and the bass going in and out,
Yeah.
Giving a few beats for the guitar to breathe, and introducing the bass.
Yeah, it's not.
I really like that.
Everything all at once,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. I sent you guys a link to the Rush 50.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually got several live tracks. It's really good retrospective to them as a live band. I would say over 70% of the songs are live versions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff that have been released before, but I was impressed with that. I wasn't expecting it. I thought it was just going to be another
Greatest hits.
yeah, which
Yeah.
And I listened to the Exit Stage Left version,
Mhm.
and then I listened to which is my favorite version of that song, more so than the studio version.
Yeah.
And it has to do with Alex's emotional guitar solo. So that's the thing that I am. Whenever you were saying that you like leave that thing alone, I really enjoy that piece of music. I think it's very well done,
Yeah.
but it doesn't flow to me like. And you might think, what? It flows way better. To me, it doesn't flow like La Villa Strangiato does.
What?
There's something that swings in that song. That's how I hear it as a guitar player, not as a drummer.
How dare you?
You know, I'm just saying it is funny how we listen to things, and
Right,
also
right.
that
'Cause I really
emotional,
like the way that flows in and out of
yeah,
the other parts to it. But
the
I know
emotional guitar
what you're saying.
playing that Alex does on the Villa Strangiato, he didn't have after the early '80s. It's different. I mean, it was emotional, and I'm a huge Alex fan, but it was something different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was a bluesiness that he lost after, moving pictures, or maybe even after Permanent Waves. He lost it. I mean, he just abandoned it. There's
Mhm.
maybe a better
Yeah.
word. He incorporated different techniques, which are amazing, and I
Done that.
love.
Do this.
So yeah, I mean, it's just different, but as a
Yeah.
guitar player, there are certain things that we love, just like you guys would love as a bass player or a drummer. There's just some things that you would say that speaks to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't get that from Leave That Thing Alone, although I enjoy it very much, but the instrumentals that they did after Moving Pictures, that's the best one in my opinion.
Mhm.
I am a fan of it. And I like that record, period.
Yeah.
Mike and I saw them live on that tour, which was really a fine show, so I recall.
Yeah. Well, the interaction is different
Yeah.
in those early instrumentals compared to the later ones.
There was a funkiness that Geddy started incorporating in this, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't appeal to me, and I don't like the chords on the bass. I'm not saying that they're in that song, but he started doing more of that, root and fizz.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just don't care for that on the bass. It just does not appeal to me sonically. I just much preferred the way he played when he played a Rickenbacker.
Yeah.
And that's just my taste, but it was lots of technique, but it was just in the pocket, and
Mhm.
it just felt better to me. But when he went to the jazz, even though I kind of do really prefer that bass sonically, it
Mhm.
does have something that the Rickenbacker didn't have.
Yeah.
He played it differently. And by the time the '90s really started to roll around, he started to incorporate more funkiness, and
Yeah.
it's not my taste. I don't care for it. So it's just it's not something I'm attracted to. But that's just my opinion. All right.
Great choice, though.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Your turn.
Okay.
My-
You're up, Jake.
You're up.
Okay. Sorry. The guy that I took my guitar that I picked up today, he just texted me.
Oh, okay.
And I was mentioning earlier. Yeah, my final choice is going to be one of these songs, and this is from 1987.
Hair metal.
I was going through a period there was a period in the mid to late '80s where guitar players' abilities just seemed like every 6 months, this next amazing musician came out, and it was just going up and up and up and up. And it was like, whoa, what is going on? It was an
What was it like?
incredible time
What
to
was it
be
like?
a young guitar player. What? It
What was it like?
was incredible.
Whoa.
It was. I mean, it was. I just remember every few months
Yeah.
this new guitar player was coming around, and it was at that time where ability was king,
Yeah.
and it was super impressive. But when you're younger, you don't realize, even though you might pick up on it and you like it, you don't know why.
Yeah.
Not yet. You don't know why you like this guy more than this guy. Because I can remember listening to guitar players really, really early on, and then after 6 months going, I'm not digging that anymore. And I can
Yeah.
name a couple of players. I lost favor with them super quick because I realized I was advancing so quickly. I realized it was something that was not as sophisticated as this next person.
Yeah.
Not technically, but just musically.
Well, that happens with, I think, every instrument. Certainly happened to me with
Yeah.
drums. And
Yeah.
Yeah. You just outgrow players very
same thing,
quickly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in 1986, this guy came out with his first record called Edge of Insanity. And he had Billy Sheehan and Steve Smith on this record as a bass player. And this guy is an incredible of a keyboard player. And to me, he's even a greater keyboard player than he is guitar player. And he's an awesome guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
This piece of music is one of my favorites from this period. And this is off his 1987 release, Maximum Security. And this guy's name is Tony McAlpine. And this song is called Dream State. It's just this he has this ability to write these melodies that are just so memorable. And there are much more sophisticated tracks on this record. This is probably the simplest, but it's also this incredible memorable melody that he wrote. And I picked up on it immediately and thought, this guy is really special. And if you've never heard anything by McAlpine, people could interpret it as being very indulgent, which it was in that period of time. So I kind of give it a break but it was so musical. This guy is so deep in his musicianship and so knowledgeable that I can listen to him much more than I can other guitar players. But there are other guitar players that I prefer. But as a musician, Tony McAlpine's always been number one for me for that style of music.
Mhm.
He's just such a great composer. So the song is king. It's always number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the best at it for that period, that genre, neoclassical. There was nobody ever any better than him, in my opinion.
I remember getting that album and not even knowing who he was. And
Yeah.
again, people saying, you got to get this. It's amazing.
This came out right prior to Surfing with the Alien.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I met Joe Satriani in Chicago right prior to the record coming out, Surfing with the Alien. He was finishing it up, and he was such a nice guy. And I just remember that whole period of time. It was so just, there was just so much available every few months.
Yeah.
It's a great recording, and you got turned on to these great musicians. And Hiram Bullock is one of those guys. It's completely different. I got turned on to him in 87 or early 88. That whole period of time, it was just like this. That was the time of my life where I was just like soaking it all up. It was discovery time.
So much to, like you said, every few months somebody was coming along and like, whoa.
It was an amazing time, and I wouldn't trade having grown up in that period of time. But to be a guitar player that played for several years at that point and had pretty good chops by that point, it was so much fun. But yeah, it was just an amazing time. That's all I can say about it. But Dream State by Tony McAlpine is my final choice, and it's just such a good piece of music in my opinion. I think it is deserving.
Yep, definitely.
Cool.
Alrighty, my final pick is another jazz guy, but he's a drummer.
Oh.
But he also composes.
Oh.
And this is such a low-key song for him. Once I mention the name, you'll be like, what? It's a song called Heather by Billy Cobham off the Crosswinds album from 74. And this is, if you played this for someone and didn't tell them this was Billy Cobham, they would say, no way, because the drums are like the least part of the song. It's just such a chill vibe and such a peaceful piece of music. Starts off with keyboards. There's maybe some Rhodes in there.
Who are the musicians on that other than him?
I do not. I should have written down. I did not write them down.
Well, that was the record after Spectrum.
Yes,
Spectrum was 73, had Quadrant 4 on it with Tommy Bolin on guitar.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Tommy Bolin, I'm not familiar with this record, Crosswinds.
Oh, Crosswinds is amazing. It's a very,
you don't hear about it nearly like you do Spectrum.
Well, it's the opposite of Spectrum. Billy came out with Spectrum and just blew everyone away and was like, wow, not only composition, musicianship, creativity, blah, blah, blah. And and this album was the opposite of that album. It was
Oh, wow.
it's very, like I said, low key, very chill, very
That's an interesting decision, though, isn't it?
yeah,
Mhm.
it's
You know?
meditative. But this song, I don't know who Heather is. I don't know if it was someone special to him. I imagine so. But there's a extended saxophone solo in there, and that's about the charge it gets. And it's not over the top. It's a very melodic solo. It's not really
Right.
like you think of, someone going through changes and playing a lot of notes as jazz does sometimes.
Right.
It's very melodic solo, and it's almost like wind blowing through the trees to me. And I know that sounds weird, but it's like that kind of song. Like you can just listen to it, and because the album then Crosswinds. That's the thing that came to my head. Like you're sitting on a summer day and watching the leaves blow, and then
Mm.
you're just chilling out, and you're just listening to this low key song. It's just chill. I said chill too many times, but that's what it is. And it's a very beautiful song. It's a very
Okay.
emotional song to be so low key.
Well, you've named several today that I've never heard,
But
so I'll have to check those out. Yeah,
It's funny
that's
you
great.
chose that one because just over a week ago I listened to that album. I'm not as familiar with that song, but I'm sure I heard it. But Billy Cobham's amazing,
Yeah.
and it is a departure.
Yeah.
Certainly worth a listen to the whole album.
I think the whole album's meant to be, as musicians used to do, take you on a little trip from here to there.
It's not necessarily a concept album, but it's got a
It's got a vibe from
it's got a
here
vibe that follows
and
through the
comes
whole
through. Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
album.
That's cool. Very cool.
Oh my
All right.
goodness, it's up to me now
Yeah.
to take us home. At the time I bought Ace Frehley's solo album, I bought it specifically for New York Groove. I love that song as a kid.
Yeah.
With this.
But the song that struck me most on it was the last song on the album, Fractured Mirror.
Yep.
Mhm.
Everybody's shaking their head. Everybody knows that.
Good.
What a great song with the
Yeah.
with so many guitar feels, building on that same motif to that climax and the big solo, and then working its way back down. I just love it. I love that kind of structure just attracts me.
Yeah.
What can you do to make this blossom? And that's exactly what that song does. It blossoms into that solo, and then that crescendo is over and it winds back down. It's such a great listen.
That is, I would say, the record's best moment.
Yeah.
There are several tracks on that record that I like a lot. But now I've got a question for you. Do you know what is unique about that guitar sound on that? There is something that he did that wasn't really, I probably learned about it from him. I've done it and, trying out well, I'm just going to ask you, do you know what's unique about that song? There's something sonically that he did on that was, you just didn't hear about. He
Not
figured
really. I
he
know
found out he found out it by accident, I think.
there's a 12 string and a
Yeah.
guitar synthesizer in there, but otherwise,
Yeah. So what he did
don't know.
was he had a 6 and a 12 string double neck. And if people don't know this, it's a very cool sound. I had never played a 12 string a double neck until, I don't know, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. But if you turn off the pickup to the
I know where you're going.
Yep.
you turn off the pickup to the 12 string and you play the 6 string, the 12 string is going to resonate. It's
Yeah.
going to
Right.
get, I might have that backwards, but you'd hear the sound. But you have to, I think you have to
You turn off the pickups to the one you're playing,
Yeah.
and it resonates through the other pickups, right?
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think if you play
Okay.
the 6 string and the 12 string is resonating,
Yeah.
you're right. Yes, you turn the pick off to the 6 string, and then you've got the 12 string on, and you're playing the 6 string. So that's the idea, and it's the sympathetic sound.
Yeah.
So he discovered this by accident, and it's just that's something that a lot of players do that have a double neck guitar, but it's a beautiful sound.
I just recently learned about that trick too, so it's interesting
Yeah.
to bring that up.
Yeah. Well, that record came out. Those records all came out September of '78. They were all
Yeah.
released the same day. And I would say that that's definitely the best moment on that record. There's 2 or 3 other songs on there that I really like a lot. But as we stated
Yeah.
a while back, I personally think Paul Stanley's record is much more consistent. Aces is considered the best of the 4. I don't think it's the best of the 4, but
It's the best.
it was the most successful. But
I can't say I've listened to the other 3, so I've listened to Gene Simmons, and
it's not a great
that
record.
didn't do anything for me.
No,
But
it's
I can see
spotty.
where you'd say Aces was not consistent, but there's some good tunes on it.
Yeah, it's good.
But,
I'd say half of that record is really, really good.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Paul Stanley's record is about 85% great.
Yeah.
And it's also got my favorite Marshall guitar tones they ever did in the band, ever. Him and Bob Kulick had the best Marshall guitar sound of any Kiss record or any other associated record, in my opinion. It's a fantastic sounding record.
Yeah.
And the production's great. So I think that's the most successful record in terms of musicianship and songs and everything. But yeah, Fracture Mirror is very cool. And I'm really impressed that that would be something you'd mention, actually. I know that you've told me many, many times. I never think of you as a Kiss fan, but yeah, surely you listened to Kiss when you were coming up. I don't know how you could escape them in our age group.
Man, in the 70s, if you didn't own Kiss Alive 2, then you're probably a serial killer.
Nerd.
Or were going to be one.
Yeah.
Everyone I knew owned Kiss Alive 2 at least.
Yeah, they were the band, well, anyway, we won't get into that. Fun stuff.
Another
I
episode.
love it. I love it. Yeah. So this was a long one today. So we're gonna exit our way out of here.
Any good instrumentals we missed we should have mentioned?
Yeah.
Put it in the comments. Let us know.
Yes, please chime in if you have any disagreements or agreements. We really appreciate your 2 cents. And thank you for all your likes and subscribes. And please continue that. We will see you guys next week. Thanks so much.
Right. You will.
Live long and prosper.
That too.